Welcome back to 25 Days of Christmas Comics. This is day 3, and I am your host, the Dude Without Fear. Today's Christmas comic features a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle by the name of Michelangelo in a story called The Christmas Aliens. Now, this is from the original Mirage run of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles when it was written and drawn by the creators Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird. And this story is originally in black and white, like all of those books were. But this is actually the reprinted version that IDW released a few years back. And they released these reprints in color. And while I appreciate the black and white, one of the things that I enjoy most about Christmas is all the different colored lights and just the colors of Christmas, and it's just a very colorful, bright time. And I felt that the colored reprinted version of this story better suited our program. So I will be reading from the reprinted version of this story tonight. Now, our story takes place. Michelangelo unsuccessfully convinced his brothers and April to go out and walk around the city with him and take in Christmas in New York. And so he's out walking alone, just enjoying the season, enjoying the snow, watching people play, and just be joyful and merry, and he's just soaking it all in. And he sees people, ice skating and everything, and then he sees these kids sliding down a hillside and on sleds, and he's like, hey, that's something that I could probably do. And he goes over to the kids, and they offer to let him sled, and he's like, yeah, sure, I'll try it. And he goes down the sled, does this big jump, and has a good time. And they were like, man, that was really awesome. Come back. He's like, no, man, I gotta go. Thank you guys. You guys have a great night. And he goes off to continue his walk, and he comes across a little kitty cat, and he picks up the cat and puts it inside his jacket pocket and says, you'll stay warm in there. He was really thinking that it was time to go home, but he's not ready to go home. He wants to continue looking at Christmas lights and everything. So he decides, hey, let's go look at the city. Let's go maybe do some Christmas shopping. Maybe I can find some gifts for my bros in April. And so him and the cat go off, and he's in the city, and you see, just the typical stuff, and it's really like overwhelming to him. The lights and everything, he's like, I know they're tacky, but man, it is beautiful. And he says, I'm just a sap for Christmas. And then he's looking around, he's like, man, there's so many stores. He's like, I hope I can find some really cheap gifts, because I've only got like $10. And those gifts got to be super cheap if you're buying for 4 other people. And then this store catches his eye. He's like, oh, wow. And he sees this toy store, Chet's Toys, and he's like, heaven. And he's looking in and everything, and he's like, man, these toys are just so cool. He's like, I've got to just go in just for a few minutes. He's like, I'll hide you here, and then we'll blend in. So he puts the kitty in his pocket and scarfs up and everything, and goes inside. And behind the register, the cashier is talking to this woman who's asking about this new toy called Little Orphan Aliens, and it's the hot toy of the season, and they've sold out. And she's like, well, we should be getting a new shipment in any day. And so he goes back, and Michelangelo's just enjoying all this stuff, and he plays with all these toys, and he's just, enjoying playing with these toys. And he finds this little leaping like creature, and it jumps like 4 feet in the air, and it scares the cat, and the cat goes running off, and he goes to chase his cat that he's found, which he's named Clunk. And the cat runs outside behind the store, and he finds the cat, but then he hears a lot of commotion going on, and he looks, and there's a truck full of little orphan aliens that Chet's Toys is donating to the orphanage. And it's being held up by these robbers who are going to, because this is the hot toy of the season, they're going to sell these toys to these people that really want them and make like $100 a toy. And so they beat up the guy that was out there fixing to finish loading the truck and drive it to the orphanage. And they beat him up, and Michelangelo steps in and spooks them and everything, and they take off in the truck. And so Michelangelo runs, and there's like this cable from a light that's hanging out of the truck, and he runs and catches onto that and just rides through them. And they're like, is he still back there? I don't know. And we'll stop up here at the next light and check. And so he gets inside the truck while they're moving to stay safe and everything. And then they get to a red light, they come out and check, and they open up the back, and he ambushes them, and he fights them and beats them up and everything. And then while he's fighting these two dudes that got out to check, the driver sees in the mirror that he's defeated these two other guys, so he takes off. And then Michelangelo takes off after him because he doesn't want him to get away, and also his cat's in the back. And so he runs and jumps back onto the truck, and eventually makes his way up to the cab and beats up the driver and throws him out, and then gets in the truck and starts to take the truck back to the toy store. Well, on the way, the truck has been reported stolen, and some cops see the truck drive by, so they start chasing Michelangelo in this truck. And he's like, oh crap, they're going to think that I stole this truck. So he's running from the law, and they chase him and everything, and they put up a roadblock, and he winds up plowing through the roadblock and creating this huge diversion. And he pulls into this alley and parks, and then like a minute later, the cops go by and they pass him, and he's like, safe. So then he goes back to the truck and checks on Clunk, and the cat's fine. So he puts Clunk in, and he's like, I need to tell the store that it's here. But then he goes, but if I do that, as soon as I turn this in, all these toys will become evidence, and those kids still won't get them for Christmas. So he goes back to April's apartment and tells his brothers and April what happened. And he wants them to help him get the truck, or the contents of the truck. They can't drive the truck because it's hot. To get the contents of the truck to the orphanage. So they get like April's van, and they go load it up, and they go to the orphanage, and then they wind up giving out the toys to the kids at the orphanage, and Michelangelo is dressed up as Santa Claus while they're doing it. And our story ends, and to all a good night. And so it's just this really fun Christmas adventure with Michelangelo, and it's a good, fun, lighthearted story that's full of heart. He's just out enjoying Christmas, and he witnesses something go down, and he could have easily not interfered with it, but had he not done that, then those kids wouldn't have gotten their Christmas they wouldn't have gotten all these little orphan aliens figures. And so he took the opportunity to do the right thing to help others in their time of need. And that's a story that I think that we could all apply to our lives, to seize the moments and the opportunities that we have to do good to help our fellow man. And isn't that what the Christmas season is all about? Is peace and goodwill towards men? Something to think about until tomorrow's episode. Thank you all for stopping by. Good night.